Hello, welcome back to Plot Device Disconnected. My name is Kevin. I'm a professional indie video game writer, and I go through Steam looking at early access, demo, and new release games that I give my feedback on, specifically from a narrative, dialogue, storytelling, text perspective, but I also give my feedback on everything. Be sure to check out some of my other videos, and if you like this content, give me a like and a subscribe. It helps get my channel going. I'm really new here, and I would appreciate it. Today we are looking at Infinite Stars, which is the first visual novel that I have chosen to look at. Visual novels are different because it's all about writing, and I have mixed thoughts on visual novels. I've played a lot because I love games that are heavily story driven. But giving my feedback is going to be a little bit unique because these are people that writing is really, really important to them, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't be making a visual novel video game. So I want to give leeway to different styles and different tastes. But if things do pop out at me where I think that, you know, the writing really could be changed to really improve the gaming experience, then, you know, that's the kind of things that I want to look for. I know absolutely nothing about this game, so let's just dive in and see what it is about. Do you wish to skip the prologue? No, I don't want to skip the prologue. Enter your name. I'm gonna go with Kevin. My name is Kevin. I am a Mah-Abu, an envoy, a problem solver. Most people go through life not knowing who they are or what they are meant to be. They look for ways to add meaning to their lives. They try to find a purpose. I have always had a purpose. I was born into it. It is why I came to be. This is my story. It is mine as much as any story belongs to anyone, but to tell it properly, we need to start at the beginning before I was called upon to play my part. The words are going by a little fast, but that might be my settings. Episode 1, Kotze, location, Kotze colony, restricted orbit, time 2347, set. The shuttle quietly drifted into the orbit around the planet. All of the onboard systems were offline to avoid detection. If anyone were to notice them, they would just see another piece of mining debris being pulled into Kotze's cluttered orbit. Alright, so we gotta take just a second to comment on what we've already had so far. We've had a lot. Of course, this is a visual novel, so we get a lot of storytelling stuff right off the bat. Having this discussion of meaning in life, and our main character does have meaning, that actually caught me off guard. That's something that I haven't really encountered in a story where the main character just says, bam, I know my meaning, I know why I'm here. You know, all you other plebes, you're searching around trying to figure out what you're doing on this planet, but I already know. So that's a kind of a fun character description. And like I said, I haven't really seen that before. So right away, that's the first thing that stands out to me is kind of a cool character trait. Other than that, we are basically just in some kind of sci-fi world of Kotze, and we're going to learn more about that. Maveen spoke with a hushed voice. We're drifting towards the blind spot. Are you ready to power up and fire the engines? I'm ready, said Vera. I know. Too early, and they detect us. Too late, and we burn up in the atmosphere. Common thing that I like to tell writers, don't just give us a just or just give us your full thought. It makes the gaming and the reading experience flow better. And there's really nothing gained to give us that kind of artificial hesitation. I've got this. I know you do. Vera glanced down at her wrist console, trying to anticipate when the all-clear notification would ping. Her fingers were resting on the power-down controls that would bring the ship back to life. At the exact moment the wrist console pinged, Vera brought the ship console online. She moved her fingers over to the engine controls in preparation to fire them. What was that? It sounded like we collided with a large piece of mining debris. Well, it pushed us off course. Let me check. Oh. It's worse than I thought. We're heading towards the planet's atmosphere. We don't have much time. This is a great line right here that could actually deliver us a little bit more of the immersive quality of Space Commander. By saying we're heading towards the planet's atmosphere, we don't have much time. All of that is very general, and it kind of skims over the brain. We want these words to actually impact us. So we would say, instead of we're heading towards, tell us that we are descending, or we are plummeting, or our trajectory has, use a little bit more scientific language that a space commander would use. And then also towards the planets, just give us the name of the planet. We're rocketing, and we're descending towards planet X13's atmosphere. The word atmosphere is actually very general. There's a lot of different components to an atmosphere. So you could easily say, ionosphere or troposphere, or something that adds like a little bit more of that scientific flair, so that we learn that Maveen is this really knowledgeable scientific person. And then finally, we don't have much time. Again, it's very general. Just say we have approximately, T point, 11.3 parsecs, use whatever terminology that fits for this situation. Don't just make up stuff that you've heard before, but there's different ways to say we don't have much time. We need to correct our course. Fire the engines. And similar for this line as well. No, it's still too soon. Vera, if you don't fire now, we won't be able to correct our orbit in time. We'll burn up. Not yet. We're still outside of the blind spot. We only have a few seconds left. We need to wait. Firing the engines now will create a huge signature ping. The squids will know someone is here, and they'll come to investigate. Our cover will be blown. All right, cool. So we have this introduction to this nemesis character or race of the squids. I am taking it that squids is maybe a pejorative that is being used by this team because it's not capitalized. So that decision not to capitalize the word squids is actually a really important one, because if it is capitalized, then I would say that is the name of the race, and then it means a lot, deciding the name of the race to be squids. However, because it's not, I'm just assuming that it's pejorative, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the race and maybe a little bit more technicalities in the future. Vera. Vera slammed down the thrust control on the navigation console, pushing herself and Maveen back into their chairs. The engines roared as the tiny shuttle corrected its course, entering and maintaining its position in the blind spot, hidden safely among the debris. Is there any movement from the blockade? Did they detect us? No, but it seems like we took a bit of damage from that impact. Is it serious? Vera's fingers glided over the console, her eyes scanning the numbers and graphs on the displays. She was still an ensign in the fleet, but before this, she had spent years as an assault marine. She was exceptionally adept at processing information fast and accurately. All right, so here we have, the classic telling instead of showing. And like I said, I want to give writers of visual novels a ton of leeway, because visual novels are usually a work of passion. It's something that the person does because they enjoy the story and they want to make kind of like a Pulp Fiction-y experience for the gamer. And there's plenty of gamers that love this. So I don't want to be like super strict about this. However, one thing that I can say is that when we are saying that Vera is an exceptionally adept at processing information fast and accurately, that actually contradicts with what we've just now experienced from her. She was saying, wait, very hesitant. She wasn't giving any real information to Maeveen on the decisions that she was making. So I now see a little bit of a discrepancy between how we want this character to be perceived versus the way that the dialogue is coming across. So it's just one of those things that you always have to look for ways to make the dialogue a little bit more robust, a little bit more clear and detailed, so that we actually get what this character is on a deep core level. And then we don't have to have these little asides where we tell the reader or the gamer what to think. So that's just something to keep in mind. We have a minor fuel leak and a few dents, but atmospheric integrity seems to be holding. Praise be. That's good. Praise be is not that common of an English saying, at least not in the United States. It's a little bit old English sounding, but that's okay. I'm not gonna criticize that. What I like about it is that it shows that we have a little bit of a different dialect up in space, which I like. I always like when we're in a fantasy world or we're in a sci-fi world, the dialect should be a little bit different. We should be hearing things that we don't always hear in the modern day. It could have been much worse. I still don't understand why this is a covert mission. Why can't we just approach the colony and ask them what is going on? Aren't the squids supposed to be our allies now? Okay, so now we're learning that the squids used to be our enemies, but now they're our allies. Yet we're still calling them squids. So that's a unique thing that we're going to probably be exploring, is this relationship between humans and squids. So I'm looking forward to that. The cephalisks. See? Okay, cool. The writer knows what they're doing, because now Maeveen, the commander, is giving the scientific name. We don't call them squids. They are called the cephalisks. And yes, they are our allies, but the situation is complicated. So kudos to the writer. I like that. Kotze colony has always been in the restricted zone. Why now suddenly deny us access to our own people? That's what we are here to find out. Okay, so it seems like we are in the cephalisks' territory, and they are keeping us out for some reason. And I guess this area is called the Kotze colony. The collision, if we land, we won't have enough fuel to get back into orbit. I would go with Maeve. Because the word may is actually a word, I read this as if she was saying like may I or something like that. But I can tell that this is a nickname for Maeveen. I would go with Maeve in that situation, just to make that a little bit clearer. How are we going to get to the colony now? I'm not sure. We can't open a communication channel, as that would immediately alert the cephalisk fleet of our presence. What about a drop drone? We could send me down with an old long-wave comm kit. Perfect. I love this. Drop drone? I have no idea what a drop drone is. And now we get the explanation. Sending down with an old long-wave comm kit. That's a great scientific term. I understand what we're saying, but it doesn't sound like anything I've heard before. So kudos. I like that. That could work. Even if the squids see the radio chatter, they will just assume it's local planet side transmissions. They're called cephalisks, Vera, but yes, it could work. You will need to be careful, as we don't know what to expect down there. It's too dangerous to send you down to the planet. Just send the comm kit. For the sake of storytelling, I'm going to go with the first one because I want to do dangerous things. You will need to be careful, as we don't know what to expect down there. Fine, you are right. I'll prep the drop drone with some additional supplies. Vera walked towards the storage module. She was glad to be alone with her thoughts for a moment. Maeveen was younger than her, and yet she outranked Vera. Despite this, she trusted the younger woman's commands implicitly. Her only concern was that Maevine didn't have the same instincts and experiences as herself. Vera's instincts told her that the people on the colony would need supplies, but she had to be careful in selecting what she packed. She couldn't risk unbalancing the drop drone. The pod was already fitted with a personnel transport module, so it had all the basic survival gear. She could fit 4, maybe 5 additional supply crates in the pod if she stacked them securely in the center. This is a little thing. Just capitalize both of these if you want to capitalize one of them. The colony is probably in a bad shape. They will need medical supplies. The colony is probably in a chaos. They will need food and water. I'm gonna... they're kind of similar to me. I would recommend with every choice in these games, visual novels, you want the choices to be very different. Because every time we come to this fork in the road where we have to decide which choice, that's part of the thrill of playing these games, is like, which way am I going to go? This one is a little bit too close for me to really tell if it really even makes a difference. So yeah, I would just make it a little bit more divergent between the two. I'm going to go with the first one because I would rather be seen as someone bringing medical supplies. Even though if they're starving, food and water would be good too. But I don't know, medical supplies seems more like what I would do. She wouldn't be able to pack a Medisys drone, so she grabbed several dozen heat wands and nano gel packs. Synth skin sheets were always useful for burns, so she packed a few of those too. Good, I like the synth skin sheets. Never heard of that before. Next was adrenaline injectors, painkillers, antibacs, anything that could be useful while still fitting into the crates. Again, antibacs. We don't use that term, even though it seems like antibacterials could be shortened down to antibacs. I like that they've done that in their dialect. It wasn't hard to fill up the crates, and once done, she packed them into the drop drone. She made sure to check that everything was secured. Lastly, she packed the old mobile long-wave radio backpack, tying it down on top of the neatly stacked tower of crates. It's a little bit wordy, this sentence. We could probably break it up into two. Lastly, she packed the old mobile long-wave radio backpack, period. She tied it down on top of the neatly stacked tower of crates. It's just kind of a long sentence. Vera walked over to the secure storage module to arm and prep herself. She opened the security palm lock on the door and stepped inside. Vera immediately walked over to the combat suits. It had been a while since she had to wear one of these. We could probably still say she. I know it's super nitpicky, but we haven't had an introduction of another character, so we know that we're talking about Vera. It had been a while since she had to wear one of these. Yeah, it's fine. I probably wouldn't write it that way. I would probably say, 7 years had passed since she had last worn a combat suit. This feels a little bit passive. The writing might be just a little bit passive for that line. Again, super nitpicky of me, but that's what I'm here for. Oh boy, she stripped down and stepped inside the platform with her arms and legs spread wide. I didn't know that there was nudity, so I will be covering this up. Moments later, the automated system started assembling a protective armored suit around her body. The finishing touch was a small laser that engraved her name and rank onto the regraph metal tag slightly below her shoulder. She closed the visor and took a deep breath through her nose. There was a faint metallic and grease odor inside the suit. Always reminds me of home. Vera stepped off from the platform and walked over to the armory. She grabbed a rifle from the secured container before returning to Maevine. Okay, so one thing that I want to say is this probably took a little bit too long. We don't need to hear every single step of the preparation process. I do understand that, you know, if you want to get that nude shot in, then yeah, you know, you need Vera to be by herself. But we probably could have, this was probably, I would guess, around 10 or 15 lines. We could have done it probably in 5. So just think about ways that you can collapse that, because it's not the most important part of the narrative at this point. Drop drone is ready to go. Did you manage to find a good touchdown spot? Vera, I discreetly scanned the colony. Something is wrong. What is it? There aren't a lot of people down there. I could only detect 37 life forms. There should be several thousand. Do you think it has anything to do with why we lost all access to the colony? I think that maybe this is what the cephalisks are trying to hide. Do you think they wouldn't eradicate a whole colony? Would they? I don't know. Some cephalisks were happy that we were allowed in the Concordat, but attacking a human colony would be stupid. And the cephalisks aren't stupid. If they did this and it came to light, their Concordat membership would be revoked. What if they thought they could get away with it? Even then, what would they have to gain? I fought the squids in close combat during the Discovery War. Capitalize this, Discovery War. They are a cruel species, excuse me. For them, just inflicting pain and suffering would be motivation enough. Mavine sighed quietly. It was war. I've seen the holoflicks and read the reports. They weren't any less cruel than we were. It's different. We acted in self-defense. And each time we retaliated, they acted in self-defense. Violence begets violence. You weren't there. You weren't on the ground where it was happening. It's different when you are safely in a starship, worlds apart from the carnage. You didn't witness the mutilated horrors and all the terrible deaths. Vera, we need to stay focused. We have a job to do. Fine. What supplies did you decide on packing? I figured they need medical supplies, and with that many people missing, there's bound to be injuries. Good thinking. Okay, let's get this over with. Mavine and Vera went over the drop drone's prep list one more time before launching it. A short while later. The drop drone engine screamed as it plummeted towards the planet, leaving a trail of engine exhaust as it descended. Every now and then the entire pod would rattle from turbulence. Get rid of every now and then. We want to convey urgency. Now and then doesn't do that. You can think of something along the lines of, you know, every 2 seconds, or just, you could eliminate it altogether. You could just say the entire pod rattled from turbulence. Drop drones were slowly being phased out, but the demand for planet orbit relay transportation was so high that most transport shuttles still came fitted with at least one of them. Vera focused on her breathing, trying to calm herself down. She had always hated these unreliable transport drones. They were old and prone to failure. How are you holding up down there? Expect. You're breaking up. I can barely hear you. We'll have to talk once you have touched down. Come at. Vera bit down on her teeth. Her eyes were closed and her breathing was heavy. This is bringing back memories I would rather not have. I just need to focus. No need to panic. Just breathe in, breathe out, breathe. Her thoughts were interrupted by another sudden jolt of turbulence that sent a wave of rattles down the tower of tide, down crates. She opened her eyes, noticing that one of the secured medical crates had moved, shifting the drop drone's center of gravity. Alarms were going off, and she could feel the drop drone tilt from being off balance. The automated computer started complaining. Akuaf! Vera unhooked her safety harness's tether and carefully started crawling towards the crates on all fours. If I can just shove it back into place and rebalance the center of gravity. Her hands and feet dragged on the floor, and she clung to the support struts for balance, pushing forward towards the crates. The computer was still nagging at her to correct her course. I know, that's what I'm trying to do. The crates were tied down on top of each other, dangerously leaning towards the right. Vera reached the medical crates and pushed against them. They didn't move. She pushed against them harder, but the crates just wouldn't shift back into position. Frustrated, Vera sat up and braced her back against a support strut. She kicked back against it, lunging forward and crashing against the tower of crates with all her might. As she catapulted her entire weight forward, her shoulder connected with the tower of crates. Ouch! The last thing Vera remembered was the white-hot pain shooting through her entire body. Meanwhile, Mavine anxiously watched as the drop drone descended on its intended trajectory. You're almost there, Vera. Suddenly, the computer started beeping at her, and a bright red warning blinked on the screen. This can't be good. Mavine watched helplessly as the drop drone continued to veer off course. Each passing second sharpened the descent curve downwards. You need to stabilize it, Vera, or else the whole pod will start to tumble and tear apart. Mavine closed her eyes. She had never caused someone's death before, directly or indirectly. The thought alone that Vera could die because of her decision was sickening to her stomach. Mavine whispered under her breath, La main alab, la main elil, please. It was like Vera heard her and acted on her warning. The drone suddenly started correcting its course, and the computer stopped moaning at Mavine. Mavine sighed from relief. I knew you could do it. Mavine watched as the drop drone continued to self-correct its trajectory. A short while later, it gently touched down only a few feet from where it was initially meant to land. She made it! Vera woke up from the nagging pain in her shoulder. She felt the sting of 2 injections shooting into her neck from her suit's built-in vitals monitor. She knew one would be filled with adrenaline and the other with a strong pain inhibitor. It worked instantly. She immediately felt more alert and jumped to her feet. Okay, so just a really small thing. I'm loving this. The tension is really good, and I love this action scene. So I don't have much criticism or critique or suggestions at all. The one thing that I will say is, so Vera was passed out from the white-hot pain, and then we jumped back to Mavine, and the pod corrected itself. We may learn probably in just a few seconds what was happening during that time. But I will say that is something that immediately kicks in mind. Did the pod correct itself without Vera? Was Vera acting, out of subconscious or non-consciously? That's something that I wanna mention. She grabbed her rifle and stepped outside the drop drone. It had touched down safely inside the assembly square. She looked around the deserted exterior, scanning for any immediate threats. She heard the sound of boots sprinting towards her. Not sure what to expect, she lifted the rifle, aiming towards where the sound was coming from. A young teenage girl carrying a black cat in her arms came sprinting around the corner. When she saw Vera with the rifle pointing at her, she froze mid-sprint and tried to turn around, causing her to fall down, sliding and skidding on the ground. She frantically tried crawling away out of Vera's sight as the cat dashed off. The girl looked terrified. Please, don't shoot. Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to shoot you. The girl stopped trying to crawl away and looked up at her. Vera could see the terror in her eyes. Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? The girl scrambled back up to her feet and ran to Vera, looking back over her own shoulder as she approached. She had her index finger on her lips, indicating for Vera to be quiet. What's going on? Is someone chasing you? They'll be here soon. They would have detected your drop drone come in. Who? Who is coming? Sentinels. We need to hide. The girl tugged at Vera as she squeezed past her into the drop drone. Vera followed her reluctantly. Once inside, she could see the girl mentally taking in the contents of the drone and its interior. Are you okay? What's your name? My name is Katya. Do you Do you have any food? No, but there is a crate of medical supplies over there. Oh, okay. We'll need medical supplies too. We need to grab it and leave. Did you see in which direction Cleo ran? Hold off a bit. What's going on? Who is Cleo? My cat, Cleo. I'm not sure. Fine. I'll tell you whatever you want to know once we are safe. For now, we need to grab what we can and leave. Cleo will find me. You are safe here. No, you don't understand. We're running out of... The girl spun around. Her face was contorted in horror. We need to go, now. Where? Why? Now. The girl ran towards the entrance and then briefly froze before jumping away from the door. It's too late. One of them found us. Vera lifted her rifle and walked towards the door. She had barely spotted the floating mechanical sentinel when she dodged out of the way from incoming blaster fire. What is that thing? It's a sentinel. It's been killing all the humans it can find. We'll see about that. Vera swung around the corner, her rifle kicking back into her numbed shoulder as it fired several bursts of ammunition. The sentinel expertly dodged all of them. It has a focused tracking computer. I won't be able to hit it without a distraction. Vera looked at the girl, and then without pause, she grabbed her and flung her outside the door. What are you... Run. As the girl stumbled in the dirt trying to run for cover, Vera swung back out of the entrance. The machine was speeding towards the girl in the dirt, getting ready to fire at her. Vera opened fire on the sentinel once more. This time her bullets made contact with the sentinel, causing it to explode in a cloud of smoke and flaming debris that came crashing down towards the girl. The girl was crouched on the ground, crying. Why did you... It was the only way. You were never in any real danger. How could you know that? I've destroyed a few squid machines during the war. They all function on the same old systems. But you've never seen one of these before. You couldn't know it was the same. It was a calculated risk. So you just decided to take a chance and gamble with my life? Look, it was either going to work or not. If it didn't work, both of us were going to die. So yes, I took a gamble and it paid off. But I thought I was going to die. I'm sorry, but there was no other way. At least you are safe now. No other way? What the hell is wrong with you? What is your problem? Just a thanks would be enough. And it's not even necessary. Are you serious? That sentinel had more empathy than you, and it's a machine. Whatever, fine. When you are done having an emotional tantrum, let me know. I have adult business to discuss with you. Emotional tantrum? Vera slapped the girl lightly across her face. Katya froze, unsure of what just happened. Why, what was that for? You thought you were going to die. You were high on adrenaline, and you clearly have tons of conflicting emotions competing for attention in your head. So you decide to slap me? The slap shocked your system and forced you to mentally recalibrate. I need information from you, and we don't have time for your emotions to run their course. There is something wrong with you. Do you really think slapping me would work? You tell me. I'm still very angry at you. Sure. Well, you're fuming about still being alive. What the hell happened here? I don't know. I need to report back about this colony. I'm going to need more than an I don't know. What do you want from me? I want to know what happened here. Look around. The colony was slaughtered. But why? Your guess is as good as mine. About a week ago, a bunch of these sentinels showed up and started attacking us out of the blue. Were they looking for something or someone? No. They just came out of nowhere and started shooting people. My mom, she died right in front of me. We heard the shouting and shooting in the streets and hid in our house. The next moment, a sentinel busts in and just killed her. I was hiding under the table beneath some blankets. I could hear the machine moving around the house. I stayed hidden for 2 days before the hunger and thirst became too much. I was too scared to move, too scared to sleep, too scared to even breathe. I'm sorry you had to experience that. If it hadn't been for my cat Cleo, I would have no one left. Katya started sobbing into Vera's shoulders. I need to find Cleo. He's all alone out there. Reluctantly, Vera put an arm around her. Later, Vera was busy calibrating the perimeter alarms while Katya watched her work. Both women had calmed down considerably after their earlier encounter with the Sentinel. Katya curiously watched as Vera activated another canister that formed part of the perimeter. Vera, what is space like? It's okay, I guess. Why do you ask? Okay, so I just want to take a pause. We've gone a lot of reading without much talking on my part. So this is great. You know, this dynamic between Vera and Katya. We're learning a lot about both of them, and that's because both of these characters are kind of diametrically opposed, which is really good video game writing. You want characters to be their own people. And so when you set them up with people that are very different from them, then we learn a lot about the characters themselves. So far, I would say that these writers really know what they're doing. This is pretty high level writing, if I had to say. I've read a lot of visual novels, and they don't move as fast as this does. This is actually moving much faster than I'm used to. And even though the dialogue and the conversations do feel a little bit long to me, they don't feel unnecessary. They feel like I'm getting something out of the conversation. And that's really important, because when the conversation just starts to go forever and ever without any reason, like a lot of visual novels do, that's where, I would cut, just cut. We don't need it. But here I'm learning a lot about Vera. I'm learning that Vera, lacks empathy, probably has some PTSD from the Discovery War that she was in. She's all business all the time, very fierce, very straightforward. Katya, on the other hand, is, clearly, shocked by the devastation on the colony. She's hungry. She's very emotional. So we're like learning about each of these characters, and I don't know if Katya is going to last much, in this story. But if she does, they are setting up a very nice dynamic between Vera and Katya in almost like a parent and daughter kind of way. Vera is, at the risk of, I don't want anyone to misunderstand this, but Vera is occupying what would traditionally be a very masculine role. So having her find Katya, it feels almost like a dad taking, a homeless girl under his wings. But Vera is, more like a Samus Aran character, and I love it. I think it's great. I think we just need to continue to reinforce over and over again that Vera is this kind of like war-torn soldier. She was trained to kill, and, a femme fatale in that sense. And yeah, we can each, or we can have each of them tease out more details from the other, Katya and Vera. And, I do hope that we continue to learn a little bit more about Maevine. But I am enjoying this. I think this is really great so far. So we are going to go a little bit further. Hopefully we can get to the end of this first part. If not, I am getting a pretty good feel for the writing and the structure, and I'll give my thoughts once we get a little bit further into the story. I don't know. I guess I always wondered what it would be like to live among the stars. You do live among the stars. You know what I mean. To be honest, it's not much different than living here on this colony. You make it sound so normal, almost boring. It's new and exciting at first, but then it becomes the new normal, I guess. It's different planets, atmospheres, and night skies, but it's the same humans everywhere. That makes me sad. Why? You aren't missing out on much. I meant, it makes me sad for you. You get to see all these different stars, planets, people, and it's just normal to you. Oh. If I had the opportunity to go to all those places and meet everyone, I'd live in a constant state of wonder. You're still young. Everything has a sense of wonder and magic to it at your age. Well, I hope I never outgrow it. So little thing here. I am glad that we are seeing Katya's more optimistic side, but that was a pretty rapid pivot from Katya being very depressed about losing her mom, and Cleo. So now she's kind of turned a happy face. I would still probably say that we should keep her in the depressed state for a little bit longer, until a big plot point comes to kind of change her mood. The slap that Vera gave, yeah, that's a very, very big plot device. Rather than just slapping Katya in the face, almost like the writer is saying, all right, now you're going to be happy. We're done with you being depressed. Now you're happy, Katya. Give us a plot point that would actually make Katya kind of turn her perspective different. Maybe, I chose the medical supplies. Apparently she wanted food. But maybe, have Vera offer something, maybe a picture of a place that Katya always wanted to visit, or, just something to give the transformation from depressed to happy a little bit more justification. I think that could be, a good idea. Katya gently lifted a golden locket out of her robes. She opened it and looked at the picture inside. Kyle and I always spoke about traveling the stars together. The plan was to save up enough crypto credits to buy passage on one of the merchant starships. We'd see the universe together, side by side, and everything would be perfect. Now I won't ever see him again. Vera's voice trailed off into silence. Was Kyle one of the colonists that... Katya's eyes became teary. No, Kyle and his parents got transferred off planet a few years ago. We were still teenagers. He had no choice in the matter. He promised that he would come back for me. I still miss him every day. She slipped the locket back into her clothes. Vera glanced at the young woman. She felt uneasy, not sure what to say. Ever since she was a small girl, she liked to focus on tangible things she could change through action. She was good at getting things done. But real emotions made her feel uncomfortable. She couldn't bang them with a spanner or shoot at them until the problems went away. She was desperate to change the subject. Vera patted the final perimeter module. There, that should do it. Okay, so we see that Vera does have a soft side to her, and that she just doesn't know. It's like a machine. She doesn't know how to use her emotions. So I like that. I think then what I would say is we need a little bit... It's hard to say. We are still very early in this story, so we are learning about the characters. But what we have seen from Vera so far is that she's a ruthless killer and a ruthless soldier. So the fact that she does have emotions and empathy, it's kind of maybe too early to show us that. Let's wait a little bit to show that, because it's so deep down inside that it wouldn't come out just by meeting Katya. To Vera, Katya is going to be kind of like collateral damage, or just a part of war. And as we saw when she pushed Katya out of the pod to kill the Sentinel. So the fact that now she has empathy for Katya, again, it's a little bit too big of a pivot right away. So probably don't give us the emotion here. We're still cool with this dynamic between big bad soldier girl and Katya. So yeah, the emotions probably are too soon for me and my taste. The perimeter is up, and we can get some sleep. Vera smiled at Katya in an attempt to lighten the mood. Thanks. The women got ready to sleep. Vera didn't dare remove her combat armor, and she slept with her automatic pistol next to her. Katya had found a comfortable spot against a crumbling wall where she took shelter beneath a dirty, discarded blanket. Vera was a light sleeper, and the sound of soft sobbing woke her. It was Katya, crying as quietly as she could. Vera stared at the ceiling. She knew she wouldn't be able to fall asleep again. She got up and walked over to the old comm kit, stamping her feet slightly harder than she needed to, making sure Katya knew she was awake. The soft sobbing subsided. It was clear that Katya didn't want her to know she had been crying. Vera opened the comm channel. May, are you awake? Yeah, I'm here. How is it going down there? Did you see the preliminary report on the situation here? I did. What are your personal thoughts? The colony is in bad shape. I doubt they will be able to rebuild without off-planet supplies and labor. I thought it would come down to this. We'll either have to evacuate and abandon or resupply. Lunar Command will have to make the call. Yep. We need to head back to the Tabitha and get out of here. Is it safe to travel back to the drop drone yet? It should be. Me and the girl will start for it at first light. Okay. Stay safe and see you soon. Oh, Vera? Yeah? Be careful out there. Come back safe. We'll be fine. The sun was already high in the sky when Vera and Katya reached the drop drone. Vera swatted at the tiny Kotze flies that persistently kept trying to bite her. When they got close enough to see the drop drone, they briefly stopped to study the area. How do you know there aren't any more sentinels nearby? I don't, but we need to get back into orbit, and the drop drone is the only way to do that. If you start the launch sequence, won't it attract the sentinels? Probably. I don't like this. I don't want to go. You don't really have a choice. Of course I do. I can stay here. You can't make me go. Vera sighed. You can stay, but it would be foolish. You'll die here. But it's my choice. You realize there won't be any supplies. No food, no clean water, no other people. This is my home. Everyone I've ever cared for lived here. Lived. Past tense. It's time to make a new home. I can't. What about all the stars? And Kyle? Don't you want to see him again? See, there are people out there that you still care for. Vera and Katya started walking towards the drop drone. So yeah, I'm enjoying this, but the character of Vera, you could say, well, yeah, she's a complicated character. She's not two-dimensional. She has empathy. She doesn't know what to do with it, but she is this hardened soldier. And I think probably at one end of the argument, you could say that. For me, I would rather see what this dynamic would be like if Vera were trying to use her war strategies on Katya to get Katya to do what she wanted her to do. I think that, for me, that would be a little bit more fitting for this story and for Vera so far. By Vera suddenly learning how to use her emotions and her empathy, it almost takes away from the story that we were kind of promised here. We see Vera again as this, cold person, and then she arrives to this sobbing, blithering girl, and I want to see that dynamic. I don't want to see someone who suddenly knows how to empathize. I actually want to see the weirdness, the awkwardness between someone who doesn't understand emotions and someone who is overwhelmed with emotions. So I just want to give that. But like I said, take that with a grain of salt. That's just my take on it so far. But I have responsibilities here. Like what? You're incredibly lucky that I found you. You have a chance to get off this planet. Don't waste it. I owe it to Cleo. You're willing to stay behind and die for a cat? If it wasn't for Cleo, I'd be dead already. I owe him my life. It's a cat. You don't owe him anything. He isn't keeping score. He'll be fine on his own. He won't. Fine. We can spare maybe an hour to look for... Sudden blasters shot rang in the air, and a beam of bright, pulsing light deflected off of Vera's upper thigh armor. Just make that suddenly. Vera immediately spun around to make sure Katya was fine. Run! Get inside the drop drone. Vera shoved the girl towards the drop drone entrance as she returned, covering fire in the general direction where the shot had come from. Strap yourself down. I'll be there in a second. We need to leave right now. But shut up about the stupid cat. We aren't dying down here. Vera slowly backed up against the drop drone, shooting in the direction of anything that moved. She couldn't quite make out where the sentinels were coming from or exactly how many there were. There seemed to be at least 4. She fired her last shot and slipped into the drop drone. When she entered the drop drone, she hit the emergency lock interface next to the door. The door made a loud hissing noise as it closed. There are 4 or more sentinels approaching fast. We need to leave right now if we want to leave at all. Vera punched in the launch sequence and turned to strap herself in. Katya was nowhere to be seen. Katya? She clumsily unbuckled herself and ran to check behind the supply crates that had been scavenged by someone earlier. The launch sequence was counting down and she couldn't find Katya anywhere. Katya, if you are hiding, you need to come out right now. I'm not kidding around. Right then, Vera noticed the small golden locket hanging from the opposite door panel. Damn it, foolish girl. The computer moaned at her to strap in. The launch was imminent. Vera knew she couldn't abort the sequence once started. She had no choice but to leave the girl behind and try to come back for her later. Vera walked over to the strap down and got in position. She closed her eyes, wishing things had worked out differently. She would come back for Katya as soon as she got back into orbit. Once she reached orbit, she ensured that she was on a safe approach vector before stripping off her armor and getting back into her uniform. Maven was waiting for Vera when the drop drone docked with the shuttle. Vera, I'm glad you made it back safely. Where's the girl? She stayed behind. How? She is an idiot. She went back for her cat. We have to go back for her. I know. I'll drop the drop drone for re-entry. Okay, we need to hurry. I don't know how much time we have before that scout spots us. We can fool the sensors at long range, but it's getting close enough for their scans to identify us as non-debris. There was a soft rustling from one of the crates. Vera, there is something in that crate over there. Katya, are you in here? No. Vera shoved Maven out of the drop drone entrance and hit the emergency door lock panel. Vera, open this door. What is going on? Stay there. Get ready to eject me and the drone if it's necessary. Eject? What is happening, Vera? Vera eyed the crate. It was too small to fit Katya, but it was just large enough to fit a small sentinel. I think we might have a sentinel on board. Oh, but you'll be able to disable it, right? Vera? Vera brought her finger to her lips, indicating to Maven to be quiet. She raised her rifle and carefully approached the crate, ready to shoot at the first sign of movement. When Vera was close enough, she kicked the crate. A ball of angry claws and black fur jumped out of the box in distress, hissing and running, looking for a spot to hide. So that was really smart to have the justification of a sentinel in the box. You know, I was assuming that it was Cleo once, you know, the crate started shaking. But it was smart to say, oh, no, it's a sentinel. So that way it kind of like, threw us off guard for a little bit. Cleo, are you kidding me? The cat jumped onto one of the crates, arched its back, and hissed at Vera. Oh, you have no idea how much trouble you caused. Katya stayed behind because of you. Come here. You can't be running free on a starship. Cleo expertly dodged as Vera lunged for him. I'm serious. You'll just get into a maintenance duct and chew on electric cables or something. Vera managed to corner a hissing Cleo in one of the empty crates. At that moment, the drop drone door opened and Mavine stepped in. I had to manually override the door security. What are you... Cleo dashed out between Vera's legs and leapt into Mavine's arms. Oh, you poor thing. Are you all right? Meow. I was going to say, I need to see Cleo. We need to see a cat. Good. You caught it. Give it to me and I'll dispose of it. Vera, it's a living creature. Okay, so this is perfect. See, now we have Vera, doing her war soldier things to solve her problems. So I want to see more of that. Basically everything up until now, Vera needs to be trying to solve problems using a soldier's logic. So we don't need to see empathy yet from her. It's still too early. You can't just dispose of it. Well, we can't keep it here. Why not? It's a wild animal. It's going to pee everywhere. Besides, what would you even feed it? We're on short supply of baby birds. It's not a wild animal. That girl is going to be very upset if you got rid of her cat. And it's not permanent. It's just until we can reunite them. Fine. Will you be fine finishing up here? I need to get back to the consoles. Sure, I can handle this. Mavine walked away, still holding Cleo in her arms. Vera was all alone, going over the crates and checking various interfaces for any issues. Now that she was alone again, her demeanor changed. Why couldn't you just have listened? Now you are down there, and the whole reason you stayed behind is up here. When Vera finished checking everything, she walked out to meet up with Mavine. Vera, we have a problem. That Cephalus scout spotted us. They want to talk. Good. I want to talk to them too. Face to face, so I can punch one of them in their puffed up heads and... No, we aren't supposed to be here. And punching someone will either get us killed or create a diplomatic incident. Fine, but let me still do the talking. I've had the most experience dealing with squids. I don't think that's a good idea. You're too... With respect, I know how to deal with them. I promise that I'll be calm. Very well, but don't blow it. I won't. Let's see. Squids value truth, so I think we should just come out and tell them why we are here. Squids are deceptive. Our only chance is pretending that we are smugglers. So I think that the second one is the more exciting storyline, so we'll go with that one. If you are sure, I trust you. Vera took a deep breath to calm her nerves. She counted to 3 and opened the comlink to the Cephalus ship. Humans, what is your purpose for being here? Said Lacadia. We are smugglers. Do not come any closer or we will open fire. My sweet, innocent childing, you do realize you are talking with a UIC ship. If you were armed smugglers, you would not have been afforded this opportunity to explain yourselves. What do you want from us? I am merely curious as to why a shuttle with an undeniable UIC drive signature would pretend to be a smuggler. Now, you are not supposed to be here, and yet here you are. I wonder why. We acted alone. We stole a shuttle and got lost. It is unkind to speak untruth. It is known that you are trying to conceal the sins of your superiors. Well, why did you attack our colony? Ah, finally, an impulse not veiled in deceit. We did not attack your colony. You accuse us of deception and then lie? We have proof that your sentinels murdered almost everyone down there. Sentinels, yes. Ours, no. You squids are the only species to use sentinels. If they aren't yours, then whose are they? Squids. Ah, because of my limbs. Humorous. But your intellect and reasoning have betrayed you. Do the dwellings on this colony belong to you? No. Yet humans are the only species to live in such structures. Are you saying a different Cephalus faction attacked the colony? Factions? Childing, there are no Cephalus factions. We are one. Translation error. So you admit it. Was your sentinels that killed those people? Fascinating, yet tiring. I now see why our diplomatic envoys described humans as frustrating to deal with. You all seem to lack the basic retention of information. They are not our sentinels. I don't... Let it go, Vera. You are agitating her. Thousands of lives were lost, May. She can deal with some agitation. This is not how we resolve it. Now is not the time or the place. Fine. So what happens to us now? Now? Now you go. Leave where you aren't supposed to be. You aren't going to capture or kill us? We are embraced, are we not? Embraced? I don't. Yes, embraced. We are merged, made one, allies. Yes? Why would we detain or smother an embraced one? Both our species belong to the Concordat. Because we saw what happened down there. We have proof that your No, not our sentinels. Protectors. Translation error. Exterminators. Only doing their duty. Doing their duty? Protecting you from unarmed civilians? They were innocent people. It is clear that you see without seeing. They weren't protecting us. They were protecting you, the humans. Protecting us? How does that even remotely make sense? Through purification. They were preserving human lives. Killing to preserve life is like fighting for peace. It's a paradox, and you know it won't hold up if an official investigation is launched. Amusing, but untrue. The Sentinels acted in truth with their intended purpose. There was no wrong done here. No wrong done here? Thousands of... May, let's not push it. We need to leave before she changes her mind about smothering us. I do not want to experience anything remotely related to how I am imagining it. Arguing with this creature won't make any difference, and if we die here, no one will know what happened to the colony. Fine, you're right. Have you decided then? Will you leave this place right now and not return? What about our people still down there? They are likely all gone by now. You are lucky to not count yourself among them. There is nothing left for you here. You must leave, now. If you return, you will be in violation of UIC regulations. It would be well within our rights to drown the life in you. We're not leaving without saving those colonists. May. No, Vera, we can't leave them. Mavine, it's too late. We won't be leaving anyone behind. Look at the scans yourself. Mavine studied the scans. There were indeed no human life forms left. White-hot anger rose in her throat. She wanted to climb through the screen and pummel the cephalisk face on the other side. Diplomacy be damned. This was an injustice to everything that is good and right. Instead, she nodded at the alien face. Let's leave then. As she said, there is nothing left for us here. The shuttle fired its engines and started its course back to the UIC Tabitha. Mavine nervously peered at the nav interface every few seconds. She couldn't believe that the cephalisk had allowed them to leave. She didn't quite understand it, but she was grateful. Mavine and Vera were almost too exhausted to talk on their way back to the UIC Tabitha. The adrenaline had worn off and a tiredness soaked their bones. This is going to be a tough debriefing. I know. What an Alkuaf show. I would probably choose a different word for shit. I can tell that, we're using a pejorative, but that's it's pretty a weird one. Vera. Yeah, I'm sorry, but you have to admit this is a mess. Mavine stood up and walked over to the environmental support interface. Her back was towards Vera. I mean, just wow. Still, I didn't think we were going to make it. When that squid lady appeared on the screen, I was certain we were going to die. You should have seen the look on your face when she... May? Are you okay? Mavine's shoulders were gently shaking and Vera could hear her soft sobbing. May, what's wrong? It's just... I'm sorry. I don't like crying in front of people. It's okay. You hate it when people get all emotional. That's true, but May, you're not like me. It's awkward when you cry, but I don't want you to hide what you're feeling for my sake. I know, it's just that poor girl, those poor souls. It's not your fault. It's not fair. She was so young, and now she's gone. All of them, they all had a future, and now it's gone. Those things happen. They shouldn't. That's the whole problem. Vera walked over to where Mavine was standing. She hesitated for a moment and then placed a hand on her shoulder. You've never lost anyone before, have you? What? No. Not even during the war? No one I knew personally. I only did strategic planning. High up in our starships, worlds apart from the carnage as you mentioned. Sorry about that. It's hard. I wish I could say it gets easier, but it doesn't. How do you deal with it? Honestly, I don't know. I just avoid going there in my mind. That can't be healthy. Ha! True. But then again, nothing about joining the Assault Marines was healthy. I guess. So why did you sign up? There will always be something to fight for, no matter how much we achieve or gain. It's part of the human condition. Always improving, always fighting for what is right. And someone has to do the fighting. Vera, I know some of the other people give you a hard time, but I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm glad I know you. Yeah, well, give it some time. The two women continued their discussion, nervously checking to make sure they still weren't being followed by the Cephalus fleet. It was hard to believe that they were actually free to go. Mavine knew that their previous newly found peace with the Cephalus through the Concordat was about to be tested once they were debriefed. Nothing made sense to her anymore. What did the Cephalus have to gain by massacring a whole colony? What did they have to gain by allowing herself and Vera to report back on the event? And why do it now? Meanwhile, Speaker for our hearts, why did you let the humans return to their own kind? Surely you saw the scans. Indeed, I saw. But you do not see, youngling? The humans wanted a seat in the pool despite not being ready to swim. We tried, but we could not deny them access to the Concordat. But with the privilege of being a member comes responsibility. But the scans, this will have far-reaching consequences for them. Possibly for us also. Yes, it will, but sometimes the only way to teach a stubborn newly spawned is to let it play amongst the sharp corals. I think I understand. Do you, youngling? Yes, a coral injury always attracts a blood predator. You perceive the understanding, but you do not comprehend the understanding. The humans are embraced with us. We wish them no harm. The others might not be as kind. It is better that they learn this lesson from a friend. But what if they realize too late or can't tame it? You disappoint me. You know the answer to your question. I wish for them to learn, to overcome and become wiser. It is a kindness. But if they cannot adapt, then they will perish, and then that too will be a kindness. Time will tell which kindness we showed here today. Before we continue, you need to understand that, and yet the responsibilities outweigh them. I am feared by some, but revered by most. People address me as he, him, she, her. I'll go with he, him, I guess. When a delicate problem can't be solved by normal means, we all options have explored and exhausted. Only then am I called upon to intervene. I've served humanity and her interests. I was born. I've done what was required of me. I had never expected that they could ask for more. Okay, so it has been a long episode today. So yeah, it has been a long episode, but I do want to talk a little bit about this because this has so much good going for it. I loved this. This is way better than the majority of visual novels I play, and I knew nothing about this when I downloaded it. So this is a really, really great surprise. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of these the first episode. We started off with Maevine and Vera talking on the starship about the Discovery War, about where they were at in space. They saw something on their scanner. They wanted to go down to this planet, and Vera went down to this planet and then met Katya. Overall, I think the structure, it worked well enough. I would give it probably a B plus. I think that the little things that I would change would have to do with tightening the dialogue. That's almost always a thing that writers can do. We can just tighten the dialogue a little bit. There are times when we say things more than once. There are times when the dialogue becomes meandering. We just don't want that. We want to get to the chase as fast as possible. The scene with Katya on the colony outside the drop drone, I think it could have been a little bit more of its own episode. And actually, I would say that this whole episode 1 probably should have been at least 2, if not 3 or 4 episodes. I think this was very long to get through in one sitting. I enjoyed it. And like I said, this is way better than a lot of the visual novels I have played. But I think that we need to speed it up. We need to get to a little bit more action, a little bit more decision making. The branching of choices needs to be a little bit more frequent. I do understand it's the first episode, the first chapter, so we're still developing the character, developing the world. But yeah, going down and meeting Katya would have been a perfect time for kind of a rapid fire of different things happening, different enemies, different hurdles. For example, there could be landmines on the ground. There could be buildings that are falling over. There could be wild animals that have taken over after the colony was destroyed. We need just a little bit more gusto there to really make the narrative move a little bit faster. I did enjoy meeting Katya and Cleo, and I can very easily see that Cleo is a very important character in this story. And I don't think that you need to change that. I can just tell that we're investing a lot into Cleo, and so it's going to have an important role. Kind of feel it's like the Cube character from the Magic Girls Madoka series. But I think overall that this is working. It's working really well, and I give kudos to the writers. I would just condense the dialogue, make the dialogue a little bit more voice accurate. As I said before, Vera needs to remain cold and calculating. Maevine needs to be more of like a mature, calm adult. Katya needs to be emotional. We need to really keep those characteristics separate so that each character has, kind of a territory of emotions or of personality, so that they remain really well defined in our heads. Get rid of Vera's empathy and emotions so far. Obviously, they're going to come back into the story later, but it's too soon to make that change. We don't want to see the character arc that fast. We want to explore and have fun with Vera's illogical ways that she uses her war strategies to solve general human behaviors. And that's gonna add like a lot of entertainment value to her character. So I think so far I would definitely keep playing this game. I would definitely keep exploring this story. I'm on board. And really, there's just the things that I'm mentioning too are very small. This is not a rewrite. This is not a redo. I mean, if, this game is still in early access, I believe, it's still being developed. I definitely still think that there's time you could change these things. They would be really small things to change, and they could really help out your narrative. So, other than that, I had a lot of fun, and if you stuck with me throughout this whole thing, thank you. Leave a like, subscribe. Thanks so much for tuning in, and look forward to the next game. Other than that, have a great day. Bye.